Hello. It looks like there's a few people on the stream. That's great. Gonna wait a couple more minutes to see if any more people turn up, and then we'll get started. But yeah, hello to everyone who's already here. If you're wondering what you're listening to at the moment, it is a little modular patch featuring a module that I made yesterday with a soldering iron with the help of Jason Hotchkiss, which is the music theme modular workshop computer. So what you're hearing at the moment is a sequence that is generated, the notes are being generated by the workshop, and then the patch is feeding back through the workshop computer, adding reverb afterwards. Yeah, great little module. I started playing around with it, but lots of stuff with it, and I was really pleased how kind of interesting, tiny little patch that they sounded. It gave me lots of kind of select works fine. So yeah, say hello in the chat. We will wait a couple of minutes, and then we'll get started on the stream. The sequence is a little bit too fast, kind of fully ambient, going at again by default, but around about 80 or 90. Lots of flexing up, looks vibes. Let me know if my voice sounds like a good level. Let me know problems with level. Got everything sounding good, then we will begin. All right, so that's the little earlier on track. So while people were turning up, let me know in the chat if everything sounds okay. Okay, then I'll start talking about this new track. I'm using chat on my phone, so no, hear me okay? Voice. All right. James just said it sounds good, so let's start. So I haven't done a live stream in a while. Done a few Alien Alarms live streams. Music past, haven't done one for a while. So there's some news, and the big news is that there is a new Alien Alarms album coming along in October. It's going to come out on Patchworks, and the first single from that album is Model Collapse, track we're going to talk about today. And the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I'm a big fan of Song Exploder. I like hearing stories behind tracks. And so I wanted to share the story of this track with you because I think it's particularly interesting. And we're going to talk a little bit about little Ableton tips and tricks, but we're also just going to talk more generally about music, how this track came to and what I was trying to do, with the music making process. So this track started as it was inspired by a podcast, the Artificial Human, is a podcast that my friend Alex Krotowski makes. And in this particular episode of the podcast, which I'll link in the description, finished, he was talking about this phenomenon of model collapse, which is when people have done experiments where they've trained AI on the output of AI, and then they've generated a load of output from the new AIs, created another generation trained on the previous generation, and done this over and over again. And what they found is that after a relatively short number of generations, like 4 or 5, quite often the AI on the 4th or 5th generation stop making sense. They kind of go insane. They end up being sort of poisoned by AI output that they've been trained on, and they stop making sense. And in this particular example that Alex was talking about, they asked an AI, how do you make Thanksgiving dinner? And so the first generation said, well, chicken and ovens and vegetables and so on, and put it in the oven for the time, and gave a recipe, explained how you make dinner. So then they asked the same question to the later generation, trained on the output of the previous generation. And by the 4th or 5th generation, the AI completely stopped making sense. And it started saying things like, when asked, how do you make Thanksgiving dinner? It just got stuck in this loop saying, well, first you have to understand what you want to do with your life. You have to understand what you want to do with your life. Understand what you want to do with your life. Got stuck in this loop. And I thought, wow, this story sounds amazing. This sounds like a great thing to make a track about. I've made tracks about AI before. I did one about Skynet becoming conscious a little while ago, and then a couple of years ago I made a whole album out of very early AI music generation. Weird and not quite right and generated things. Tracks out. So I've done it in the past, and nowadays I tend to use AI just to make tracks about it. Be like the voice of AI, where the subject. I was happy to do that again. It's not something that I'm comfortable doing a lot, but I think it's okay when you're writing about AI in that. So that's what I did, and so thinking about this idea a little bit more, I started thinking, okay, how does it apply to music? And I started wondering whether the advent of AI music means that after kind of 50 years of the evolution of kind of funk and breakbeat, we might get stuck in this AI-generated vortex. Everything sounds the same. It sounds generic, and we stop getting that amazing kind of innovation that we've had for generations up till now. So that was the idea for the track. So first of all, kind of strangely, I started with the end. So I started by generating the AI section at the end of the track, which, is this where we're going to end up forever? Ending for the track. And then I used that section to kind of inform the rest of the track, where I wanted to have a number of sections where each change in style kind of very roughly moving forward through different generations of breakbeat music until we got to the AI point at the end, and then stuck now forever. So starting with the AI section, I went to Suno. I asked it to make me some breakbeat. It made some drum and bass that sounded pleasingly kind of competent and heavy, but also quite generic. Luckily, it didn't come up with something incredibly exciting and interesting that blew my socks off. So that was kind of perfect for the ending of the track. So let's have a quick listen to that AI generated section. This is the only part of the song that is fully generated with AI. There's some AI generated vocals, but then all of the other sections of the track are human crafted. Talk about that in a bit more detail in a minute. So this is the AI generated ending of the track. Hopefully you can hear that okay. And as you can see from the processing, I just did a little filter sweep to introduce it. I put a little bit of saturation on it because it sounded a bit dull, possibly because it's pre-output. So it's a little bit bandwidth limited, and that saturation added a little bit of more brightness of it. Yeah, sounds pretty good, right? Sounds like some pretty decent, pretty competent Eurofunk that you might dance to if you were going out. I really like this kind of fill section as well. But yeah, so that's the ending of the track. That's where we want to end up at the end of this evolution generation. And then to just add to that, the only thing I added to that section, the AI section at the end, was the vocal, which again AI generated, being the vocals from the experiment that Alex was talking about in our podcast. Oh, hang on.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
The goal of this section is just to make it feel like it was just going to kind of go.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your
Not as
life.
many changes as there are in the rest of the track.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
Sounds like.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
Hopefully that sounds okay. Let me know if the music is at a decent level. Mic is at a decent level.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. I've got the chat on my phone.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
Otherwise.
If you don't know what you're going to do with your life.
That's the end of the track. And it's already a kind of weird way of working in that we're starting with this is what we're trying to get to, and then we're kind of working backwards, trying to get to that end generated. So I already think that's kind of an interesting way of making music, and it's certainly not something that I've done before where I've had a goal, an end point. So that was already kind of an interesting challenge, I thought, in making the track. We've got this end point. We want to try and get there through a number of generations of breakbeat, and I wanted to make it feel like each of the sections was musically related and kind of trying to evolve towards that final AI generated section. And the thing that kind of struck me about the AI generated drum and bass section is that it has this kind of meh, 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 meh kind of semitone, dark semitone bass line going on. And that reminded me of track Kaleidoscope by Bad Bad Not Good, which I happened to playing quite a bit on the bass at the time, so that's why it kind of reminded me of that. And so I decided that for the first section, I was going to try and make something that sounded like a much more kind of live, jazzy, funk breakbeat track that had some elements of that final track, but you know, it was a little distance evolved towards that drum and bass track at the end. So let's go to the start. Let's jump from the end to the start of the track. Talk a little bit about that first section. The other thing I wanted to do is that I wanted to make the sections get faster. That is something that's happened, kind of evolution, breakbeat, electronic music over the decades. It's tended to get faster and faster and faster and faster gradually as DJs play the last record slightly faster and make records of that new tempo slightly faster. So I wanted to start it slower than the end point, and have each section get faster as it evolved through the iteration. And so, because I wanted the drum and bass section to end around 174 BPM, I wanted the first section to be a decent chunk slower than that, and picked 140 BPM. Partly because I've got some tracks in my live set which are 70 BPM, some tracks in my live are 140 BPM. And so if I started at 140 BPM and then had this track that went from 140 to 174, I could potentially use that track to link lower section. So it may end up being a completely impossible DJ track because it's in multiple tempos. That's fine. It may end up being this kind of perfect piece of DJ ammunition. A bunch of DJs go, oh great, I can connect. Add Alien Alarms track sandwiched in the middle. So let's talk about the first section. So as I said, it's kind of loosely based on Kaleidoscope by Bad Bad Lot Good. That I think goes 4/3 minor 1 major 1. I've just simplified that bit. So we've got this little chord sequence that just goes 4/3 minor 1. So 1 in E. And so the keyboard part sounds like this. Then it's got a little turnaround, which has got that semitone in. It goes from 4 to flat 5. Little semi. That's where we're getting the semitone. But eventually, we get to the bass line in our final section. So that's the harmony in the first section, and then we've also got some live bass, electric bass. And the idea of using the electric bass and electric piano was to kind of create this jazz funk feel. Doesn't sound electronic yet, but like pre-electronic goal for this first section. So I think it's relatively easy to do with the electric piano and the bass. Harder to do with programmed drums. So we'll talk a little bit about that now. So let me unsolo stuff. Play the whole first section with the drums. Drums come in round about here. Okay, so as you can see, slice break beats. Go and see Ned Rush's channel to find out all about how to do that. I'll just share a couple of bits and bobs that I've done here. I think this is using a breakbeat from Ableton's library. It's using expression control. Again, go and see Ned Rush's channel to find out how to use expression control. I use expression control a lot now to try and create variation in breakbeats, especially when they're going faster. It's nice, I think, to vary each hit, making it sound slightly different. So a big thing for that, which you see in all of the sections of this track, is that I tend to have a random expression control modulating the decay notes are different. You can see I've also got expression control modulating the sustain here. One thing that's interesting is that I haven't got expression control modulating the pitch because it's got the ride cymbal going on. It just sounds really. I think if you've got a breakbeat that has a ride going across, then you start modulating the pitch of the slices. Although the drums sound really good when they're ride cymbals. And it's fine if weird is what you're going for, but if you're trying to create this section that sounds a bit like a jazz funk part, then don't want. have the ride cymbal. So in all the other sections, you'll see there's expression control on decay and sustain, but there's also a lot more expression control on pitch as well. And then the drums are going through a drum bus. I think this is a really important part of, you've got these 5 sections, and we're trying to make them all sound part of the same track, even slightly different. So I've kind of treated each of the drum sections in a similar way, or through the same drum bus, trying to give them some overall sound that kind of ties the sections together. And in each of those, I've got a beat repeat, which automation to turn it on and off. Not using the first section of the track because I want it to sound kind of natural, but in the later sections, beat repeat, creating little stutters, drum parts. And then a really important thing that I've started doing a lot now, is putting a bit of very short compression, very short reverb on the drum parts. So I've got this Fat Drum Studio. It's a hybrid reverb. It's got quite a lot of convolution, so it sounds quite natural. It's very short. It's not very wet, but it creates this sort of acoustic space, which means that, and the acoustic space comes before the drum bus. It comes before the compression. It comes before the EQ. And I think what this helps it do is it sort of makes it sound like you're hitting a drum in a real space, you're recording it, and then you're processing it, then you're compressing it. So, it kind of makes it sound a little bit more natural, in the sense that real drum kit, hit the drum in an acoustic space, the acoustic space would be picked up on the microphone, and then you might do a bunch of compression, you might do a bunch of saturation, might come later in the process, but you've captured some of that space drum hits. I find that having really short, realistic drum reverb, just a tiny bit, like 5 and 8% dry wet, going into the drum bus, I think really helps bring stuff alive. And it means that even if you're doing this stuff with expression controls, where you're adjusting the gain level and you're adjusting the decay of each drum, so things are like the drums are changing around quite a bit because of the expression control drum parts. Just having that tiny bit of reverb kind of ties it all together and makes it all part of the same acoustic space before you do the rest of the compression. And it also makes it, I think, sound a little bit more like a real drum break. And I think that helps when you're slicing a break and then pitching it down and doing loads of crazy stuff with it. The tiny bit of reverb that you're putting on it before you do the rest of the processing drums, and it just helps put it all back in. Even if you're pitching drums sliced up, and so you pick up the natural reverb, or you're automating the decay, so you're essentially chopping off quite air that you would, creating a very small envelope, so then adding a little bit more air back in, and it's sort of a consistent air that goes across a track, and it goes across all the sounds. So it really helps when you've got like an acoustic break and you're different acoustic, an acoustic break and you're trying to layer it with a kick drum. Putting that tiny bit of reverb on it just puts all of those drum parts in the processing. That kind of helps. It's something that I'm doing a lot now, basically track, and I'm doing it here on these different sections. I think it helps bring the sections together even when they're switching. So that's the first section. I'm not going to talk as much about all of the rest of the sections because I'm doing a lot of the same stuff in this one. To create the transition between sections, we're changing tempo, right? And I didn't want to have it sounding like tempo is slowly just rolling up from one tempo to another, although that can sound cool too. I sort of wanted to sound like, boom, now we're into another generation, different breakbeat generation. So I wanted to have a break and then to have the drums come back in at the new tempo. And so obviously we need to change the tempo. So if we show the automation on the tempo, maybe this is something you don't often see in Ableton because people don't often make tracks in different tempos. But yeah, you can just go to the tempo in the top left-hand corner, and right-click on it like everything else, show automation, and then start automation. So you can see down here, we go from 140 to 46. And then we're going to go into the next section. So we're going to go to 146. There's going to be a big hit, bass drop, all the drums drop out, and then we're going to come back in. So let's just listen to that, and then I'll talk about the differences, which there are, but I'm not going to talk. Here we go. Now the drums are coming in the fragmented fills, established the new tempo. And now we're into the second section. So we're at 146 now, and I wanted this to have a little bit of a flim feel to it, because I love flim is one of my favourite tracks, so I wanted to have a homage to that in here somewhere. So it's got that kind of quite smooth melody, synth melody happening, chopped up breaks, and then, I don't know if you can hear it, every now and again you've got triplets, which I think sounds incredible, and the 16th note, break edits, and then little triplets dropping in. Then we're into the next section. So again, we've gone up to 156. Drums drop out, and then they're going to come back in again. Something that's slightly different here is that I've got sliced breaks, and then I've also got just loop drum samples, and sometimes just playing at the same time. So you get this kind of like back and forth between the drum loop with some programmed parts over it, and then going into a sliced break for the next couple of bars, and it just kind of goes backwards and forwards, and that's the sort of pattern I've used in a number of the different sections. Got a bit more of an acid, harsh melody line here. We're getting a bit more energy into the whole thing. Now we're at 166, which obviously has to be jungle. We have to get to jungle before we get to the Neurofunk AI. Here we go. Again, the keys have gone back to being quite jazzy, electric piano again, not synthesized anymore. But we've got like completely beautiful edits, which I'm pretty happy with here. And again, we've got that like slice break back and forth with just like a longer chop and loop section, different breaks. It's kind of like full of response in the drums, and I really like it because we've got slice breaks, which sounds slightly different. And here we are in the AI section. Gone back up to 174, and then the AI section at the end of the track, which we've already played, so we've done the whole thing. So that's how the track came together. I'm pretty happy with it. If you have any questions about the production, about anything I've talked about, put some questions in the chat and I will try and answer them. This is Model Collapse, and next Friday, Ned is going to take this track and slice it into another set of slices, turn it into a side salad, live on his stream next Friday. And then after Ned's done his stream, I'm going to do a stream where I take the remix afterwards live on the stream, and then we're going to release the track at the end of the live stream. Then it's going to be out so you can enjoy it. So, I hope you enjoyed that little overview of how the track came together. So something else that might be worth talking about is, I'm going to talk about this more on next Friday, but you may have noticed that I've got this big plugin chain on the master channel and on the main channel, and that's because I tend to master my track in the same Ableton session that I'm building it in, which is something that some people do. It's still not very standard. People tend to make a track, render a master, and then give it else who'll then go and master it. And obviously, if you're getting someone else to do your mastering, that's how it's going to be, right? You're not going to give the whole mix. They might not be software as you. You render a WAV file, you give it to mastering engineer, masters it. But if you're doing it yourself, which I actually think is okay, even though a lot of people will say that's bad practice, I find it super helpful and really helpful to master the track in the same session, because it lets me go back and forth, right? It means that if during mastering I'm like, wow, that bass is really heavy, or it's not heavy enough, or something is obviously harsh, it jumps out to me while I'm mastering the track, then I'm in the session with the track. I can go and edit it in the track. So and something else that's kind of handy is that you can, while you're mastering it, you can just like solo different parts if you've got the whole mix in the same session. It means that you can do stuff like, quite often you like to make the kick drum and the bass roughly the same level, right? Especially if they're sort of bouncing off each other. You get like a kick, bass. It would be nice for them to have roughly the same amount of energy. If you're mastering it in a session track, you can solo the kick, solo the bass, look at the levels in mastering software, and make sure they're the same level and same frequencies, or that the kick drum is dropping down to the point at which the bass is getting hit. So then they kind of kick will decay down in frequency. It'll end up on a frequency. It would be nice if that frequency up on would kick drum happened. And if you just solo those things, mix happen. So I just find it's really useful. I thought it was mentioned. I'm going to go through a lot of this mastering process next Friday when I master track, right? Tracks. But just to tell you about the chain that I'm using, I use Ferric, which tape saturation plugin, free, good. Fresh Air, I think I got from a Black Friday offer. And again, once you've kind of simulated putting your mix onto tape, you can then simulate a little bit of tape excitation afterwards, mastering chain. So those first two are more about kind of adding a bit of warmth to the mix, and then ozone thing that gets you to the level that you want to get to with the maximizer. I tend to put some stereo widening in. It's got a really cool phase correlation meter, so that you widening it too much when you've got drums happening, phase problems. And yeah, I very rarely use the EQ apart from dropping off, but maybe eating bedroom. And then the final thing in the mastering chain, which is super useful, which is probably maybe the most useful plugin that I have, is the loudness meter. And generally, I'm -11 integrated loudness. I found that level, so that you've still got some dynamics in your track, but if someone plays your track next to somebody else's electronic music playlist or on the radio, the level of your track sounds. And generally, I'm trying to get to 10 loudness units average dynamics across the whole track, which means, that's measuring the peak to the long range. How much drop is there? The loudest part of the drum hit, level of if that's around about 10, generally you've got flat to the point where you're going to sound flat, but also going to wear people playing. So I'm going to talk more about that next Friday after Ned Rush's stream. So yeah, tune into Ned Rush's stream. It is going to be 8 p.m. UK time on Ned Rush's channel. So tune into that, watch Ned take this track and remix it, and then afterwards I'm going to do another stream, take Ned's, master it. We're going to release the track onto Bandcamp live on stream, hopefully. So yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for coming along and listening to talk about the track today. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave you with the debut of the music video of this track. And just to tell you a tiny bit about the music video, I wanted to continue this idea of kind of AI training on AI through generations that we've got in the track. And the way I did that was to get some AI image recognition software and capture footage of it trying to recognize objects from real video and also AI generated video. And so yeah, the objects that it's recognizing are frequently amusing. So I'm pretty pleased how it came together. So I made the video in Ableton Live as well using Max for Live. And the thing I find super useful about making videos with Max for Live is that because it's sitting in Ableton, you can create a new version of the track. You can create a new version of the track, potentially just with your master mix on, but you've got all of your tempo automation if you've got any. You've got all your automation, you've got the track at the right tempo, you can put the master in a session. And the super useful thing about that is that then you can use Ableton automation, which is in sync with the music because you're doing it in the same Ableton session that you made the music, right? So you can have 16th automation patterns that are automating video switches on 16th notes just by drawing a kind of scribbly wiggle on Ableton, and it will create a staircase quantized to 16th notes in the Ableton session. That's automating the video that's being played, switching between clips at 16th note speed. And that means that you can take a 4-minute song, you can draw a 16th note squiggle across your 4-minute track in about 10 seconds. And then you can press play and you get this super fast switching of video clips that if you were to automate that by just taking a piece of audio and then trying to find the bars or trying to find the beats, putting manual video edits in, that just takes forever. So if you want to create like super fast kind of glitchy videos, then I recommend doing it live just because you can automate the parameters, bang in track because making it track that also. So maybe I'll talk about that another day. I'm not going to talk more about making video today because I've already been talking for like 45 minutes. But I will leave you with the video for Model Collapse. First time it's been played, so I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy the track. Please come up, tune into Ned Rush's next Friday, where you can watch him remix the track. And afterwards, I'm going to on YouTube. Yeah, tune in for that next week. But now, if I can find it, this is the first play of the video for Model Collapse.
If this laborer were in possession of his own means of production,
through the machine. The machine is much, but it is not everything. The machine is much. The machine is much. The machine is much. The machine is much, but it is not everything. It is not